People get the impression that we would sit down in our social clubs and we would think about the next business that we were going to target. Let's figure it out. It didn't happen that way. Approximate annual profit, $50 to $150 million. Again, pulled it out of his rear end. They have no idea how much money was involved in that, none whatsoever. I'm going to tell you this, I believe that the gas tax fraud that, I had a lot to do with, I believe that was the second biggest industry that's my feeling. Now, could I be wrong? I doubt it, but I could be. I don't have all the numbers from everybody over the years. Nobody does. But it was very, very, very lucrative. I mean, I was accused of stealing $2 billion over a couple of years. I'm not saying it's true. I'm saying that's what I was accused of, according to the government. Hey everyone, welcome to another Sit Down with Michael Franzese. Hope everybody is doing well. All is very good, very blessed on this end. As always, my friends, I give all the praise, honor, glory, and thanksgiving to our God for that. But I get asked all the time, Michael, what was the most lucrative business, not only that you got involved in, but that the mob got involved in? What were the most lucrative businesses? So I told my team, I said, listen, go online, do some research. See what the media or others claim that is the most lucrative businesses of the mob. So they came up with 10. And I got to tell you, people, you can't always rely on everything that you hear. I mean, some of it made me laugh. It was silly. Not so much what the businesses were or the rackets were, but what they assume, how much money was generated as a result of these businesses. How do they know? They don't know. They give you numbers and everything else. They don't really know. They just throw things out. They try to make estimates, try to make them sound good or bad, whatever way you look at it. But it was funny. It's kind of amusing. So I'm going to go down the list. There's 10 rackets, I would call them, or businesses that they claim are the most lucrative for the mob. And they did it in order, from the worst right up to the best. So we're going to go through with it. We're going to have some fun with it. Obviously, I'll give you my comments. But let me explain something to you. What businesses can you get involved in? There really is no restrictions. The only restriction that I had when I came into that life, and I know I'm going to get hit up on this again because you always say, come on, Michael, it's the truth. I have no reason to say this if it wasn't the truth. We were not allowed to get involved with drugs. I was told straight out, you get involved with drugs, you die. I know people that suffered some severe consequences because they were involved in drugs. Let me clarify. Were there some people doing it? Yes. It's the mob stuff. Yes, they were doing it a little. We weren't major drug traffickers, not at all. Don't let anybody tell you different. We didn't even hold a candle to the cartels. Forget it. But some guys were doing it a little bit here and there to scratch out a living because not everybody in that life were good earners. So they did what they could. We weren't allowed to do it. Did the boss look the other way? Maybe if one of his soldiers were doing, who knows? I don't know that. Listen. Don't forget, why was Paulie Castellano upset with Gotti? Because allegedly his crew was involved with drugs. We weren't allowed to do it during my era. I'll say it again. And of course, some of you are going to comment and give me, all the knowledge you think you have, but that's okay. Other than that, we weren't restricted. We didn't say, hey, you can't do this, you have to do that, you can't do this. No, we got involved in the businesses that we could get involved in, except for the fact if somebody else was doing something in a particular territory, well, maybe we weren't allowed to do that in that area because it might have been a Gambino guy, another Maid guy, who knows? It could have been from one of the other families or somebody within your own family. So maybe we had to move. But other than that, we didn't have any restrictions. So you get involved in what you could. I was fortunate. I knew how to use the mob life to benefit me in business. So, I did some things that were kind of different, kind of new to the family, which we'll get into. But let me go down this list and let me see what you think about it. And we're going to laugh at some of it because it's just silly. The numbers that they say we generated, they have no clue. Trust me when I tell you. And informants might say this, they don't have a clue. Nobody really knows. I mean, I know what I did in my own business, but who's the guy next door going to know? How's a guy in the Gambino or the Genovese family going to know what I did? They're not going to know that. So understand these numbers are silly, but let's go down. Let's talk about it and see what you think. It says, here is a ranked list of the 10 most profitable business activities historically tied to the Italian-American Mafia, Cosa Nostra, in the USA, ordered from lowest to the highest peak annual profit, which is all nonsense, but let's go through it. Cargo hijacking, and I'm going to read it and then I'll comment on it. Theft of shipments from trucks, warehouses, air cargo facilities, notably JFK Airport, with stolen goods resold or funneled into other criminal enterprises. Approximate annual profit, $20 to $100 million. How do they know that? They don't have a clue. And it wasn't one of our businesses. It wasn't, hey, somebody is assigned to John F. Kennedy International Airport and you're going to steal the cargo. No, that's not the way it worked. My friends, you may not have heard, but I now have a wine branded in my name. Franzese wine. I'm very proud of it. It comes from the world's first vineyards. We have alcoholic wine and non-alcoholic wine, several varieties, fruit varieties. You're going to love it. Different than anywhere you've ever tasted before. So enjoy this with your friends. Go to franzesewine.com. An offer you shouldn't refuse, but a taste you're going to love. If you had an opportunity, like you saw in Goodfellas, somebody within the cargo company alerted the family that, hey, there's a shipment of X amount of dollars going to be happening, and, I'm on the inside. I can give you access to it. You guys go and rob it, and we'll whack it up. Okay. But that was somebody from inside that came and alerted Henry Hill and Jimmy Burke and all that at that time. It wasn't that somebody was assigned to JFK and therefore, they were stealing cargo on a daily basis. That's not the way it happened. And they have no idea, $20 to $100 million. They brought that out of the air. I have no idea where it came from. It's probably law enforcement given some kind of an estimate that they pulled it out of their rear end, quite honestly, to be a little bit vulgar about it. But was it a business of the mob? No. Did that opportunity arise? It happened in Goodfellas, probably happened again. I wasn't involved in that. But yeah, it happened. A lot of times we had, a cargo stolen. There was a stolen truck that came from somewhere. You heard the old expression, did that suit you have, did it fall off the back of a truck? Well, yeah, sometimes it did. They hijacked. It wasn't a business of the mob, but it happened at times. Yes, usually it was an inside job. Somebody from the inside, brought it to our attention and we did the work. But it wasn't a business of the mob. That's not a true statement. But anyway, that was the lowest ranked. So you got my take on it. Let's keep going. Restaurant and bar infiltration. Owning or extorting nightclubs, bars, and restaurants used for laundering, illegal meetings, and distribution. Approximate annual profit, $50 to $150 million. Again, pulled it out of his rear end. They have no idea how much money was involved in that. None whatsoever. Extorting restaurants. Did you do that? Yeah. You go into a restaurant, you see that no other crew is involved there. You go, hey, you got to pay us some protection money. Well, who are you protecting us from? We're protecting you from us. Basically, that's the deal. You either pay us or you're going to have some trouble in the restaurant. Was it a business of the mob, like you're assigned certain restaurants? No. But if that's what somebody thought they could do that, maybe they had a connection in a restaurant, maybe they knew something, yeah. So it was something that would happen, but it wasn't a business of the mob. These terms are not right. Hijacking is not a business of the mob. It's something that happens when the opportunity arises. Same thing with extortion. It's something that is used in the mob, so maybe technically you can call it a business, but it wasn't assigned to restaurants and bars or anything else. You could have tried to extort anybody that you wanted to. Car dealership, anybody, movie producer, whoever you wanted to extort, you could try to extort if you had, information that it would work. So, but there again, to put this number on it, $50 to $150 million, absolutely ridiculous. Bid rigging, white collar fraud. I don't know where they got that from. Manipulating public or private contracts, health insurance scams, stock market frauds, and prepaid phone card scams. Annual profit $50 to $200 million per scam. Per scam, they're saying. Again, they have no idea what these numbers. Again, where'd they get these numbers? They have no clue. We can keep a record. There's no accounting for this. I mean, it's silly to even say something like this. And I'm telling you this so that you're not misled when you read some of these silly things that you see in the newspaper or magazine article or you hear on social media or anything else. Nonsense. They have no clue how much money was made or not made in that. But what they're saying here, though, manipulating public or private contracts, possible. You can manipulate a union contract, absolutely. Health insurance scams, honestly, it was the Russians that were involved in that. Russians. And I think I had a clue in teaching them how to get involved in these government scams with Medicare and Medicaid, because I introduced some of them into the gas business and really showed them how they can defraud the government out of tax on every gallon of gasoline. And in Los Angeles, a lot of the Russians were involved in healthcare fraud. That I will say. Not so much us. Russians, yes. Prepaid phone card scams. I mean, you can't really do that now. Back in the day, yes, they did that. There were some prepaid phone cards. You don't have them now, really, but was it, again, a business of the mob? No. If an opportunity arose, if one guy did it, yeah, okay. But it wasn't like, okay, these are the businesses that are going to be available to you if you want, and they go down a list. No. It's whatever you got involved in, whatever way you think you can make money. Again, other than drugs during my era, whatever you could. Go do it. Bring the money home. That was it. Stock market frauds. Yeah, we were involved with penny stocks. But again, you need the cooperation of Wall Street and people on the inside to do that. So did it happen? Yeah. And I told you this once before, probably more than once. People get the impression that we would sit down in our social clubs and we would think about the next business that we were going to target. Let's figure it out. It didn't happen that way. Quite often, unless it was the unions, because the unions we were involved in since the inception of the unions, going way back to the 1920s. But usually, somebody from the inside of a company would come to us with an idea as to how to defraud their own company. And of course, they wanted to make money. It was somebody that would come to us, and that's how we would get involved. We didn't go out and say, oh, okay, I'm going to target, General Electric Credit. I'm going to target General Motors. I'm going to target Walgreens or Walmarts or whatever. No, it didn't happen that way. Somebody from the inside came, they had an idea on how they can defraud their business, and they wanted us to help. Whether we financed them, whether we protected them, or we helped them do the scam, whatever. Because they figure, hey, they can trust us, we're never going to tell on them, we can make money together. That's how it happened. It happened with me many times. Can't even tell you how many times people would come to me that were involved in a business. Hey, I got an idea how I can defraud my company with your help. It's how I got in the gas business. Somebody from the inside. You know the story. I'm not going to be redundant. That's how it happened. So even though these things are legit, to put a number on it, $50 to $200 million per scam, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's ludicrous to even go there. Loan sharking. Extending high-interest loans to businesses and individuals, collecting with threats and laundering funds, approximate annual profit $100 to $300 million. Again, where are they getting these numbers? Is this nationwide? Is this New York? Is this Chicago? Ridiculous. They don't have a clue. I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of us that had money, we were Shylocks. We were loan sharking. I was into that. I had over $1 million on the street when I was locked up. I was collecting a point a week, sometimes 2% a week. A lot of times I would give the money to my soldiers and they in turn would lend it out. I would charge them a point. So 1 point a week is 52% a year. Not bad, and they were responsible to collect or whatever. They gave me the 1 point. They could have charged 3 or 4 or 5, whatever they wanted to. It was up to them. As long as I got paid, it was on them, what they wanted to charge somebody else. A lot of times I would charge, I would go to a business directly and lend them money. They couldn't go to a bank for whatever reason. They'd come to me. So they'd pay my interest rate. That would be it. So for those of us that had money or had access to money, yes, that was a pretty big business for us guys. Again, for those of us that had money, a lot of guys didn't have money. For those of us that had money, it was big. We would lend it out. But $100 to $300 million, they don't have a clue. I mean, they don't have a clue how lucrative or not lucrative that could have been, truthfully. But anyhow, yes, big business. Union corruption and pension fraud. And this is in order now, don't forget. Extortion or control of unions to siphon funds from pension and welfare accounts, selling labor peace or sweetheart contracts for kickbacks, approximate annual profit, 100 to 300 million. Again, throw those numbers out the window. Nobody knows. But yeah, we were involved with the unions and we used the unions, no question about it, to our advantage. How did we use them? Well, a lot of times we would go into a place of business and say, we're going to unionize you. And if you don't want the union in here, then you're going to pay us 25 grand every Christmas. You're going to put 2 of our people to work, whatever. If you don't do that, we're going to have a picket line out front and we'll just make sure nobody can come in and enjoy your food. So, things like that, yes, we use the unions big time. Pension funds, yes. Helped build Las Vegas, no question about it. Helped us, to gain the favor of politicians because we had money and we had votes. So yes, we used the unions very effectively. I don't think there's any need for me to go into that. Historically, it's true. I had two unions. I had the bartenders and waitresses union. When I say two unions, I had locals where that I controlled. I also had the security guards union, and at one time we had, I believe it was 9 nuclear power plants that were dead. I mean, they weren't using them anymore, but we had to have security around them for 100 years. That's the law. So we had 9 nuclear power plants, among other things that we had the security guards working with. And there was my partner, Daniel Cunningham, that eventually went bad, and he testified against me in a case. But I was acquitted. But by the way, so that was big. Yes, we used the unions. The whole mob commission case was based upon labor racketeering. We understand that. So yes, that's true. But the numbers, they have no clue. Have no clue. Don't believe these numbers. They have no clue. Trust me. Let's keep going. Extortion and racketeering, mob tax, collecting protection money, forcing businesses into contracts, controlling waste management and construction sectors. All true. Approximate annual profit, 200 to 400 million. Again, throw those numbers away. They don't have a clue on what the money was. But yeah, we did get involved in all of this. No question about it. Protection money, forcing businesses into contracts. Correct. Controlling waste management. Back in New York, we had all of the garbage industry. Yes, we had an association that controlled the industry. No doubt about it. And until today, we have influence there. I don't know if it's as great or as big as what we had before, but we absolutely did have influence big time. Sally Avellino, was the one who had his Jaguar bugged, and a lot of the information came out about the commission case and so on and so forth, and they talked a lot about the garbage industry and so on and so forth with, during that trial. So, yes, that's true. But the numbers, throw them out. All right, now there comes to something I'm very familiar with, gas tax fraud, and I'm going to show you it's out of order. Pocketing excise taxes using dummy fuel companies, costing government up to $1 billion annually. Approximate annual profit, 250 to 500 million, and then it had there as a footnote, Franzese earned $5 to $10 million a week at the peak. I'm going to tell you this. I believe that the gas tax fraud that, I had a lot to do with, wasn't the only one, but had a lot to do with it. I still say I think we ran the best operation. So many of the guys in that industry came and used us and our licenses, which we allowed them to, obviously for a price. I believe that was the second biggest industry to Prohibition. That's my feeling. Now, could I be wrong? I doubt it, but I could be. I don't have all the numbers from everybody over the years. Nobody does. But it was very, very, very lucrative. Very lucrative. I mean, I was accused of stealing $2 billion over a couple of years. So I'm not saying it's true. I'm saying that's what I was accused of, according to the government. It was a lot of money. I will tell you that. Are they doing it now? No, I don't think so. I think that died pretty much with me when my partner became an informant. I mean, they might be doing it in pockets, but can't be anywhere near what we did. Absolutely not. Okay, and then they put this in there. Now, the gas tax fraud, they have it as 4th from the most lucrative. I disagree with that. I think it was second to Prohibition, which they have as number 1, but we'll get to that. All right, next, drug trafficking. Again, you know my feeling on this. Importing, selling heroin and cocaine, major distribution, the pizza connection, which wasn't, I'll get to that. The annual profit, 500 million to 1 billion. Absolute nonsense. First of all, the pizza connection was really all the Sicilian guys from Italy. They weren't really here. Our guys here in the United States. Pizza connection. They all got busted. It all went down. They weren't doing that kind of money. Don't believe it. Not at all. Look at the case. The numbers aren't nearly the same. And again, during my era, no. Who are the major drug guys that you know involved in Cosa Nostra? You're going to say Vito Genovese? Okay. You think he was doing 500 million a year? No way. Some people say Lucky Luciano. No. Absolutely not. We didn't hold a candle to the cartels. Even when drugs were allowed, we weren't. And a lot of guys didn't want to do it. They didn't want to do it. The drug business was ugly and it caused too much heat. The opening line in The Godfather, which by no means is all true, I'm not saying that, but when he said, not the opening line, I'm sorry, when he was dealing with those guys, what's his name? The guy that, the Turk that eventually tried to kill Don Corleone. Drug business brings too much heat. All the politicians that we have, they're not going to be on our side if we got involved in drugs. And that was the thinking. Aside from the fact that we didn't want to hurt the kids. Whether you believe it or not, it's immaterial. I'm telling you the truth. And I'm not trying to say it just to make people look good in that life. No, I've said many times it's a bad lifestyle. But we didn't get involved in drugs to any extent. And these numbers here, 500 million to $1 billion a year, absolute nonsense. You want to put that on the cartels? Probably $1 billion is way too cheap. They made much more than that. Not us. Say what you want. Argue with me. I'll get it in the comments. I'll talk to you about it if I see it. Next, gambling. Of course, big operation. Illegal casinos, bookmaking, sports betting, and numbers rackets with Vegas and nationwide operations. Approximate annual profit, 500 million to 1.5 billion. Again, throw the numbers out the window. They don't have a clue what the numbers are. But is it a very lucrative operation for our life? Of course. Big into gambling. I had 12 bookmakers that worked underneath me. When I say worked underneath me, they answered to me. They're in Long Island and Brooklyn. They answered to me because we wouldn't allow them to operate without answering to us. They had to. So, but was it a lucrative operation? Of course. Is it still? Of course. A obscene amount of money? Yes, in many, many cases. No doubt about it. Gambling, big. So I won't argue, but throw the numbers out the window. They don't have a clue. Trust me on that. All right, and now we get to the last one, which is the oldest one, which is not happening anymore. Prohibition bootlegging from 1920 to 1933. Massive illegal alcohol trade controlling distilleries, breweries, and distribution to speakeasies. Approximate annual profit, $1 billion plus. I won't disagree with that. And again, we're going back to, 1920s money, not today. But it was billions of dollars. I said this many, many times, and I'll say it again, and I stand by it. It was Prohibition that made Cosa Nostra, the Mafia, what it is today, or what it was during my era, the golden years of that life. Because before that, we were a bunch of guys, gangsters, trying to grind out a living. Extorting, yes, some of their own people in the Italian neighborhoods, doing some bookmaking, some gambling. They weren't running liquor because there was no reason to. It was legal. You could have bought it anywhere. But they were grinding out a living, extortion, whatever. They weren't making a lot of money. Prohibition came in. They figured it out. People still want it. They went big time in it, and the money was obscene. And that's what built them into an organization. No doubt about it. And guys like Luciano, Al Capone, Meyer Lansky, they took advantage of all of this. Even Mazzaria, all of them, they took advantage of it. And that's what made the Mafia in this country a strong organization. Nothing is good without money, people. I don't care how many numbers. If you don't have money, you're not strong, period. So that's the list, from lowest to highest. I hope you understand some of my take on it. But when they give you the numbers, throw them out the window. They have no clue. I don't know where they come from. They just estimate, oh, this sounds good. Let me throw that number in. Listen, people, don't believe everything you read about that life. There's a lot of misconceptions about my former life. Trust me on that. And whatever, law enforcement, they build it up. So, wow, look what we knocked down. Look what we stopped. We stop an industry where taxpayers or people are getting robbed of X amount of dollars. They don't have a clue. And even when informants tell them something, they make these things up. They exaggerate. Remember, informants are trying normally, what are they trying to do? Get out of a prison sentence. Limit their exposure prison-wise. So they'll embellish because they know the feds don't have any idea. So what? We tell them something, that's a number they're going to go by. They can't dispute it. They don't know any other way to figure it out. So they're going to listen to us. We'll say it. We can make it up. We can make it up. So don't believe the numbers to any great extent. Always question everything. Don't believe it. But anyway, and again, when I was in business, when I was in that life, I got involved in many different businesses. And the rule of thumb was this. If you got involved in something on the street, you always had to put it on record. Hey, I got another bookmaker under me. I got, I'm lending out money to this person, that person. You had to put it on record. And there was two reasons for that. Number one, the reason was they said, in case you have a dispute with another family member or another made guy from another family, if it's not on record and you have a dispute, you lose the argument because we don't know about it. What are you trying to hide it from us? Whatever. You're doing a street crime, you got to kick up. And if you don't, you're going to lose, period. So you put it on record for that. The second reason is they wanted to know what you were doing. In case something happened to you, they take it all over, which I understand. So when you were doing anything on the street, I could have picked anything, whether it had been union racketeering, whether I was going to rob a house, which I never did, by the way, wasn't my thing, not into that at all. But I'm just saying, if I was going to rob a business, whatever, I was going to hijack a truck, whatever, I had to put that on record because it was street criminal activity. If I had legitimate business, which I did, I had 2 automobile dealerships, I had a production company, I had a lot of things going on, I put it on record just so they knew about it, but I didn't have to give them any money. If I had something on the street, I always kicked up at least 25%. That was the formula. But any of my legit businesses, unless they were my partners, which they weren't, I didn't have to give up anything. And that's the rule of thumb. You can be involved in just about anything that you want. Nobody's telling you, you got to do this, you got to do that, or you got to do this. You bring a score in, hey, I had an opportunity, this happened, I got a hotel I can do this with, whatever. You put it on record and you let them know, and then you give them their end if it's a street activity. So that's how it goes. So listen, I hope you enjoy that. I always try to dispel some of the myths about that life, and when I saw the numbers, it made me laugh. It's so ridiculous. But think about it yourself. How are they going to know? We don't keep records. We're not filing it on our taxes. How are they going to know? Oh, an informant told them. Yeah, right. You believe everything an informant tells you? Forget about it. You believe in Santa Claus. You believe that. So anyway, my friends, that's it for today. I want to thank you again for tuning in to my daughters at Franzese Girls Productions. Go and watch them. They're doing a great job. And thank you. If you can sub on to them, I'd appreciate it. Sign on. I think you're really going to enjoy it. And get your lady friends to sign on because they have a lot of interesting things to say. Their take on a lot of things is pretty cool. As a matter of fact, I'm listening to them because they talk more to all of you than they've talked to me in a lifetime. It's unbelievable. I'm learning things from my own daughters, what they think. They don't talk to me that much. But anyway, by the way, all of this wonderful video that you see, it's my wife that does all this work. She's a terrific photographer, videographer. She yells at me quite a lot, when I'm not doing the right thing. But actually, my girls today, the title of their video is "My Mom Was Tougher Than My Dad." That doesn't make me look too good, but that's girl by, yeah. But in the household, she's pretty much the boss most of the time. Every once in a while, I'll put my foot down, but happy wife, happy life, babe. That's how it goes. But anyway, what were you saying? I stand corrected. Yes, we talk a lot because we're very close. I mean, they live within 3 miles of me, and one of my daughters still lives at home, but they don't talk about my former life or any of that stuff. None of that. We don't get into any of that. So I'm listening to their perspective on certain things that I never knew. So it was really cool to kind of listen to them. So please support them. I think you're going to enjoy it. Every episode is getting better and better. I think they've got about 3 or 4 that they've done so far, but they're dropping another one soon. Few people have asked me what this little bracelet is that I'm wearing around my wrist. It says pray first. It's a reminder for me to pray. I do believe very strongly in the power of prayer. Those of you that have heard my testimony, you know that it's my mother-in-law who I believe prayed me to where I am today. And I've seen prayer work, miracles, I would say. God answers our prayers in his way, in his time, but he answers them. And my friends, that's it for today. You got anything more to add, Mrs. Franzese? No. That's it? Okay. So give her a hand. All this wonderful video that you see, this studio, she designed it, did a great job. My team helped her a little bit, but she's really the designer of all of it. So it looks really good. We're really happy about it. That's it for today. How do I always leave you? Same way, never going to change. Be safe. We're a little safer now in the world. If the Middle East is in peace, man, praise God for that. And yes, ultimately, God gets all the praise because he just does. It doesn't happen without people who know and love the Lord want good things to happen. And you can say what you want about Donald Trump. He's imperfect in every way, as I am, and all of you watching. Maybe some of you think he's a little bit more imperfect. Whatever. If he's doing the right thing for the country and the world, that's what we care about. That's it. Be safe, my friends. be healthy. A lot of stuff coming out. You know what I read today? I got to tell you this. If you're drinking water out of a plastic bottle that they come in, you're getting more plasticides or whatever they call it. And over the course of your lifetime, no good. So, take your plastic bottle of water and put it in a regular water holder, whatever you call those things, those containers. Don't drink out of plastic bottles that long. It was a big study that was done, and they concluded that. So you don't want those plasticides coming into you. Could even be cancerous. Who the hell knows? Today you don't know. You don't know about anything. You just got to be here. So be safe, be healthy. Yes, God bless each and every one of you. Families, communities, neighborhoods, loved ones, and God bless America, and God bless the world. We want peace in this world. I'll see you next time. Take care. My friends, before you leave, I got something special for you. You really want to be part of my legacy, part of a community, then join the Franzese family. You're going to get Q&As with me privately. You're going to get behind-the-scenes stories I've never told before. I can't say everything on YouTube. You're going to get Q&As. You're going to get Zoom calls. You're going to get a bunch of people working together for the benefit of all of us. Be part of the legacy. I'm telling you, this is an offer that you shouldn't refuse. You want more of me? This is the place to go. Be part of the elite. MichaelFranzese.com/family. Join up now.